The great hall of the alien palace shimmered with silver light, cast by crystals hanging from the ceiling. The air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves pressed down on anyone who dared to stand at the center. And at the very center stood a human, his voice caught in his throat, as dozens of alien nobles stared with cold, judging eyes. The guards behind him carried spears made of living metal that pulsed faintly with blue light. They would not hesitate to strike him down if ordered. Yet their orders had not come, not yet, because all waited for the one seated at the far end of the hall, the alien princess. She sat upon a throne carved from white stone, her figure tall and slender, her eyes sharp like twin blades of silver. Her hair glowed faintly with the same crystalline shimmer as the ceiling above. She had not spoken a single word since he was dragged into the hall, accused of violating sacred ground. Now she leaned forward, resting her chin lightly on her hand, watching him with a gaze colder than space itself. "You stand accused of trespassing upon holy soil," the herald announced. "Do you deny it, human?" The man swallowed hard. He had stumbled onto their territory by accident, drawn by desperation. His ship had been damaged, his supplies running out, and the valley below had seemed empty. He had not known it was forbidden. Now the princess herself weighed his fate. He could feel his heart pounding, knowing one wrong word would mean his end. The princess's lips parted at last. "Speak, human," she commanded, her voice smooth but laced with steel. "Why should I not end you here?" The hall grew so silent he could hear his own breath. His mind raced for answers, but none would save him. No excuse, no plea for mercy would matter to these beings who saw humans as lesser. And yet in that crushing silence a memory surfaced, a word he had once read, buried in the ruins of an old starship long abandoned on the edge of human space. A word written in their script, untranslated, but carved with such care that it had burned itself into his mind. He drew a breath, and he whispered it, "Serenia." The sound barely left his lips, soft as a breath against glass, but the effect was instant. The court gasped. The guards stiffened, lowering their weapons but not daring to strike. The herald stumbled backward in shock, eyes wide. And the princess, she froze. Her silver eyes widened as though she had seen a ghost. For the first time her perfect mask cracked. She rose slowly from her throne, her every movement graceful but trembling. With something the court could not name, she descended the steps, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the man's ears until she stood before him. Her eyes locked onto his, not with hatred but with a strange searching, almost desperate intensity. "Say it again," she whispered. His throat tightened. He had no idea what he had spoken, no idea why it shook them so deeply, but he obeyed. His lips shaped the word once more. "Serenia." The princess inhaled sharply. The hall broke into chaos. Nobles shouted, guards exchanged nervous glances, and whispers filled the chamber like a storm. Yet she raised her hand, silencing them all. Her gaze did not leave him. It was no longer the gaze of a judge over a prisoner. It was something else, curiosity, confusion, and a spark of recognition. "How do you know that word?" she asked, her voice lower now, almost soft. I don't," the man stammered. "I found it long ago. I don't even know what it means." Her eyes searched his face as if weighing the truth of his words. Then slowly she straightened, turning to the court. "Spare him," she declared. The hall erupted with outrage, but none dared challenge her. The human stood trembling, heart racing, knowing his life had just been spared by a single whispered word. And though he did not understand why, he knew one thing for certain. The princess now looked at him differently. The guards dragged him through narrow corridors lined with glowing vines that pulsed faintly as if alive. Their grip was firm but less hostile than before, as though even they were uncertain about what had just happened in the throne room. His feet stumbled across the polished stone floor, his mind racing. He had spoken a single word and it had turned death into survival. But why? What had he unleashed? They shoved him into a small chamber carved into the side of the palace. The door sealed with a hiss, locking him inside. The room was bare, save for a low bench and a bowl of water that shimmered with faint light. He sank onto the bench, pressing his head into his hands. He could still feel the princess's gaze burning into him, as if her eyes had followed him all the way here. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time moved strangely in the palace. He heard no footsteps outside, no voices, only silence. Then, without warning, the door slid open. Light spilled into the chamber, and there she was, the princess herself. She stepped inside alone, her robes flowing behind her like liquid silver. The door closed, leaving them in the quiet glow of the chamber. He rose quickly, unsure if he should bow, speak, or remain still. Her presence filled the room with an energy he could not explain. "You will answer me," she said. Her voice was softer than in the court, but it carried no less command. "Where did you hear that word?" He hesitated. "On a ship," he said carefully. "A wreck floating near the outer rim. The word was carved into its walls. I thought it was only a name." Her eyes narrowed, but not in anger. More in thought. "That word," she whispered, "has not been spoken aloud for 1,000 generations. To my people, it is not just a name. It is a bond, a vow, one uttered only by those chosen by the stars themselves." He felt his chest tighten. "Then why did it come to me? I am only human. I had no right to say it." For the first time, her lips curved, not into a smile, but into something unreadable. "Perhaps that is what makes it dangerous," she said. She studied him, tilting her head slightly as if testing the truth hidden in his soul. "The council believes you should be executed for daring to speak it. But I am not so sure." The silence stretched between them. He could feel the weight of her words pressing on him. He dared to meet her gaze, and in those silver eyes he saw not only suspicion but something else. Curiosity, and a spark of something warmer, though carefully hidden. "Why spare me?" he asked finally, her jaw tightened. "Because the prophecy spoke of an outsider, a voice not of our blood who would awaken the forgotten word. And when that day came, our world would either be reborn or destroyed." His stomach dropped. "You think I am that voice?" She did not answer. Instead, she turned and walked to the wall, tracing her hand across the glowing vines. They shifted at her touch, rearranging themselves into patterns that looked like constellations. She spoke without looking at him. "The word you spoke is sacred, Sirenia. It means the bond of breath. Long ago it was the vow that joined two peoples as one. But the vow was broken and the word was forbidden. To speak it is to stir the ashes of a fire that burned worlds." He struggled to breathe. "Then I made a mistake. I didn't mean to bring fire back." She faced him again, and this time her voice was sharper. "Mistake or not, the word is alive again because of you. My court will not forgive this easily. There are those who already plot your death no matter what I say." He swallowed hard, his pulse quickening. "Then what happens to me now?" The princess stepped closer, so close he could see the faint glow of her skin, as though starlight lived beneath it. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a moment he felt as though the universe itself had narrowed to this single space between them. "You will live," she said firmly, "because I have chosen it. But know this, human, you are now bound to me. The word you spoke ties us in ways even you cannot yet understand. Your fate is no longer your own." Her hand brushed lightly against his arm, a fleeting touch, but it carried more weight than chains. Then she turned and walked to the door. Before leaving, she looked back, her expression unreadable, though softer than before. "You whispered one word, and now the stars themselves listen. Do not waste this chance." The door sealed behind her, and he sank back onto the bench, heart pounding. He had survived once again, but he felt no relief. Because now he knew, the princess did not see him as just a trespasser anymore. She saw him as something else, something he was not sure he was ready to be. And outside the chamber, the whispers of the court spread like wildfire. The human had spoken the forbidden word, and the princess had spared him. Some called it destiny, others called it blasphemy. But one thing was certain: his life would never again belong to him alone. The chamber door opened again, but this time it was not the princess who entered. Two guards stepped inside, their armor glowing faintly with veins of blue light. They ordered him to stand, their voices flat and firm. He obeyed, though his legs felt heavy. They marched him through the corridors, past more alien nobles who stared with narrowed eyes. Some whispered curses under their breath. Others made signs as though warding off evil. The word he had spoken clung to him like a shadow. At last the guards pushed him into a vast library. The ceiling stretched high above, carved into arches filled with stars. Shelves towered on all sides, holding not books but slabs of crystal, each glowing faintly with knowledge locked inside. The air hummed softly, as though alive with memory. Waiting there was a tall, robed figure. His eyes were not silver like the princess's, but a deeper gray, heavy with age and wisdom. This was the keeper of records, the one who guarded the history of the alien people. The guards left, sealing the door behind them. The man stood alone with the keeper. You are the human who spoke the forbidden word, the keeper said, his voice low and deep. Do you understand what it means? He shook his head. No, I only found it once. I didn't know its meaning. The keeper studied him, then lifted a crystal slab. It floated between them, glowing brighter as the elder touched it. Images appeared in the air. Great cities of shining stone, alien and human ships flying side by side, and figures standing together with hands clasped in unity. Serenia, the keeper said, was once the vow of union. It was the word spoken when our ancestors and yours bound themselves together in trust. It meant we shared one breath, one fate. But trust was broken. Your kind vanished from our records. The word was cursed and never spoken again. The man stared at the vision in shock. You mean, humans were once here? With you? The keeper's eyes softened. Long ago, yes. Your presence was erased from memory, buried beneath fear and betrayal. Only a few fragments remained, until you spoke the word. The vision faded, leaving the man trembling. He tried to speak, but words caught in his throat. His mind spun with questions. Why had humanity forgotten? Why did fate bring him here now? The keeper stepped closer. The princess believes you may be the one the prophecy spoke of, but the council does not agree. They think you are a danger. If they cannot silence you, they will try to break you. The man swallowed hard. Then I don't stand a chance. The keeper's eyes glimmered faintly. Perhaps not. But the princess is not easily swayed. She protects you for reasons only she understands. You must decide whether to trust her. If you do, your path may lead to survival. If not, he let the silence finish the sentence. Before the man could reply, the doors opened again. This time the princess entered. Her presence filled the library, her robes whispering across the floor. The keeper bowed deeply. She waved him away, her gaze fixed only on the human. When they were alone, she approached him slowly. What did he tell you? That the word was once a vow, he said quietly. That humans and your people were once joined. Her eyes searched his face. And do you believe it? He hesitated. I don't know. But if it's true, then maybe it wasn't a mistake that I said it. For the first time, her lips curved into the faintest of smiles. Good. You are beginning to understand. But before he could ask more, a loud sound echoed through the hall outside. An alarm, sharp and urgent. The princess's eyes flashed with sudden intensity. She turned, her voice sharp. They are coming for you. My rivals will not wait any longer. The door burst open and a group of armored nobles stormed in, their weapons glowing. One of them pointed at the human. He is a blasphemer. He must die. The princess stepped in front of him, her eyes blazing. You dare challenge my word? The nobles hesitated, but their leader sneered. You are blinded, princess. This human is a danger to us all. If you will not kill him, then we will. The man's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no strength against them. But the princess raised her hand and silver light burst from her palm, filling the room with a blinding glow. The nobles stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Her voice cut through the chaos, fierce and commanding. You will not touch him, she declared. Not while I draw breath. The glow faded, leaving the nobles shaken. They exchanged uneasy glances, then retreated, muttering curses under their breath. The door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing like thunder. The princess turned back to him, her expression softer now, though still burning with fire. Do you see? Speaking that word has changed everything. You are no longer just a human. You are a symbol. And symbols are dangerous. He stood trembling, his chest tight with fear and awe. What happens now? She stepped closer, her silver eyes locking onto his. Now you must prove you are worthy of the word you spoke. Tomorrow the council will demand a trial. You must survive it. Only then will they believe you are more than a mistake of fate. Her words settled over him like chains and wings at once. He had no choice but to face what came next. And as the princess turned away, her voice softened so only he could hear. Do not fear. You are not alone. For better or worse, we are bound. The next morning came with no dawn. The palace's crystal towers shifted their glow to a brighter hue, signaling the change of time. For the human, sleep had been impossible. He had spent the night pacing in his chamber, the princess's words echoing in his head. You must survive the trial. The guards came for him when the crystals turned white. They said nothing, only shackled his wrists with glowing bands and marched him through winding corridors. Nobles watched as he passed, their eyes cold, some curious, some openly hateful. He was not just a trespasser now. He was a threat to their order. They led him into a vast arena carved deep into the palace. The walls shimmered with silver fire, and thousands of alien eyes filled the seats above. At the center of the arena stood the council, elders draped in heavy robes, their eyes hard as stone. Beside them, in a throne raised higher than the rest, sat the princess. She wore no crown, no jewels, only a simple robe that gleamed faintly with starlight. Yet her presence was more commanding than all the elders combined. The herald's voice rang out. "The human has spoken the forbidden word. By our law he must prove his worth in trial. If he survives, he shall live. If he fails, his death shall cleanse the shame." A hush swept over the arena. The shackles on his wrists dissolved into light and the ground trembled beneath him. A section of the arena floor opened and from the shadows rose a creature unlike any he had seen. It was massive, four-legged, with a body of sinewy muscle and skin like black stone. Its eyes glowed molten red and chains of light bound its neck and limbs. The crowd gasped at the sight, whispering in awe and fear. The herald's voice thundered again. "Behold the Karzak! No outsider has ever faced it and lived." The chain snapped and the beast roared, shaking the ground. The human staggered back, his heart hammering. He had no weapon, no armor, only his bare hands. The princess leaned forward on her throne, her silver eyes locked on him. She gave no sign, no word, but something in her gaze seemed to say, "Fight. Survive." The Karzak charged, its massive claws tearing the stone floor. He rolled aside, the air burning as the beast's talons scraped where he had stood. He scrambled to his feet, grabbing a shard of broken stone from the ground. It was small, but better than nothing. The beast turned, its molten eyes blazing. It lunged again. He ducked beneath its swipe and drove the stone shard into its leg. The shard snapped in half, barely scratching the creature's skin. The beast roared in fury, its breath hot and foul, and slammed him with its tail. He flew across the arena, crashing into the wall. Pain shot through his body, but he forced himself up. The crowd jeered. Some laughed, others shouted for blood. The council members watched with cold detachment. Only the princess leaned forward, her expression unreadable. The beast circled, ready to strike again. His lungs burned, his vision blurred. He could not match its strength, but he could outthink it. He remembered the keeper's words. Serenia means the bond of breath. He steadied his breathing, focusing not on fear but on rhythm. He moved to the side, forcing the beast to follow. Again and again he dodged, each time closer to the cracked pillars that lined the arena. The beast grew angrier, its movements wilder, less controlled. Finally, he reached the tallest pillar. He waited, heart pounding, as the beast charged one last time. At the last second, he dove aside. The beast slammed headfirst into the pillar. The ancient stone cracked, then collapsed, crushing the creature beneath a cascade of rubble. Dust filled the arena. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of falling stone. When the dust cleared, the Karzak lay motionless, pinned beneath the shattered pillar. The human staggered to his feet, blood trickling down his face. He raised his hands weakly, showing he still stood. The crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in shocked murmurs. The impossible had happened. The council exchanged uneasy glances. One of the elders rose, his voice sharp with anger. "This proves nothing. He is a danger, a trick of fate." But before he could say more, the princess stood. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "He survived. By our law he lives. No elder, no noble, no voice shall take this from him." The arena fell silent. Even the elders dared not speak against her. Her gaze locked on him once more, and this time there was no doubt. Her eyes no longer held only curiosity. They held recognition, respect, and something deeper still, hidden but growing. As the guards led him out of the arena, whispers followed him through every corridor. The human had faced the Karzak and lived. Some said it was luck, others said it was destiny. But one thing was certain, he was no longer just a trespasser. He was something more. And in the quiet of her throne, the princess whispered to herself words no one else could hear. Perhaps the stars have chosen well. The palace was restless that night. Word of the trial spread faster than fire in dry grass. The human had survived what no outsider had ever faced. The name whispered in every hall was not the beast he had slain, but his own. Some called him cursed, others chosen. But one thing was certain. He could no longer walk the palace unseen. The princess summoned him to her private chamber once darkness fell. Guards escorted him through hidden passages away from the angry glares of nobles. When the doors closed behind him, he found her standing near a great window gazing out at the city below. Its towers glowed softly like constellations woven into the earth. "You should not be alive," she said, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. He stood uncertain. The beast made a mistake. "I was only lucky." She turned, her silver eyes catching the faint glow of the crystals. "No, luck does not shatter prophecy. You breathed the vow into life, and now you stand where no other human has in 1,000 generations. The council fears you. That means you matter." He swallowed hard. "And you? Do you fear me too?" She was silent for a moment, then shook her head. "I do not fear you. I fear what you represent. You are a reminder that our history was built on lies, that what was erased cannot be forgotten forever." Her words struck deeper than any weapon. He thought of the Keeper's vision, the humans who once walked beside her people then vanished from their records. "If our pasts were once joined, then maybe they can be again," he said quietly. The faintest curve touched her lips, though it was gone in an instant. "You speak like a dreamer. Dreams are dangerous here." She stepped closer, her presence filling the chamber. "Listen to me. From this moment, every noble will plot against you, some openly, others in silence. They will whisper poison in my father's ear. They will move to end you. And if I am to protect you, then I will be forced to defy them all." His chest tightened. Then why risk it? Her gaze held his without wavering. "Because when you spoke that word, something changed. Not just in the court, not just in the city, in me." Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. "I looked at you differently, and I cannot turn away now." The air between them felt charged, heavy with words neither dared say. Before he could answer, the doors burst open. A noble in crimson robes strode in, flanked by guards. His face was sharp and cruel, his eyes burning with contempt. "Princess," he said, bowing stiffly, "forgive the intrusion, but this matter cannot wait. The council demands the human be surrendered. He is a danger to our people." The princess's expression turned to ice. "You enter my chambers without leave and dare command me?" The noble sneered. "I act for the good of the realm. You shield this outsider because you are blinded by curiosity. But the council sees clearly. He must die before the prophecy takes root." The guards behind him reached for their weapons. The human's pulse quickened. He had nothing to defend himself with. But before the blades left their sheaths, the princess stepped forward, her voice ringing like thunder. "Touch him and you betray me," she declared. "And betrayal of the crown is death." The guards froze. The noble's face twisted with fury. "You would risk your throne for him? For a trespasser? For a curse?" Her eyes burned like silver fire. "I would risk more than that." Silence cut through the chamber. The noble's sneer faltered, but his words came sharp as a knife. "Then you choose your side. Do not forget, princess, the throne does not belong to you alone. There are those who will not follow if you bind yourself to him." He turned and stormed out, his cloak snapping behind him. The guards hesitated, then followed. When the chamber was quiet again, the human turned to her, his voice trembling. "You just made an enemy for me." Her lips curved again, though this time with something fiercer. "No, he was already your enemy. Now he knows I stand with you." He felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with something else, an unfamiliar warmth. He had come here a prisoner, but now the most powerful voice in the realm had chosen to stand beside him. The princess moved closer, her gaze softening. "Do you understand what this means? From this moment, you and I are bound not just by the word you spoke, but by my choice. Your survival is no longer yours alone, it is mine as well." Her words lingered in the quiet chamber, and though the night outside was still, the man felt the world shifting. He had not asked for this path, but now he walked it with her. And as the stars shone faintly beyond the palace windows, he realized something that made his breath catch. He no longer feared the trial, the nobles, or even death. What he feared now was failing her. The palace no longer felt alive with whispers, it felt like a storm building. Guards shifted uneasily at their posts. Nobles avoided each other's eyes in the halls. Rumors spread of secret meetings, of daggers passed hand to hand, of alliances breaking in shadows. The human could feel the change in the air, thick and tense, like the silence before thunder. He had been placed in a guarded chamber again, but this time the guards looked at him not with contempt but with unease. They had seen him survive the beast, seen the princess defend him. To kill him now would not be justice, it would be rebellion against her. And yet he knew rebellion was brewing. That night, the door to his chamber opened quietly. He expected another guard or noble with orders to move him. Instead, it was the princess. She wore no ceremonial robe, only a cloak of plain gray that hid her hair and silver eyes. Her face was set with determination. "You cannot stay here," she whispered. He stood quickly, alarmed. "Why? What's happening?" "Betrayal," she said sharply. "The crimson-cloaked noble has convinced others of the council to move tonight. They plan to strike while my father sleeps, to kill us both before the vow spreads further." His blood ran cold. "Then why come for me? You should escape on your own." Her eyes flashed fierce and unyielding. "You spoke the word and I chose to protect you. If they kill you, then they kill me as well. We leave together." She seized his arm, pulling him into the corridor. The guards posted outside were gone, already drawn away by the plot. The halls were eerily empty, shadows stretching long under the crystal lights. They moved quickly, slipping through side passages the princess seemed to know by heart. Her grip on his hand was steady, guiding him like a thread through a maze. Behind them, faint echoes stirred, the sound of armored boots too many to count. "They're close," he whispered. She nodded, her face grim. "We must reach the lower gates. Beyond them there is a path into the outer city. From there we can vanish into the crowds." They turned a corner only to be met by 3 nobles in armor, blades glowing with cold fire. The leader sneered when he saw them. "The prophecy dies tonight." The human's breath caught, but before he could react, the princess stepped forward. Silver light burst from her hands, striking the floor. The stone rippled like water, throwing the nobles off their feet. She shouted over her shoulder, "Run!" He hesitated. He didn't want to leave her. But she met his eyes, fierce and unrelenting. "Go," he obeyed, sprinting down the corridor. The clash of steel and the hiss of light rang behind him as she fought, her power filling the hall with blinding radiance. At the next turn, she rejoined him, her cloak torn but her eyes blazing. They reached the lower gates, but betrayal had already spread there too. More guards blocked the exit, their expressions cold and loyal not to the crown but to the crimson-cloaked noble. The princess raised her hand to unleash her power again, but the human stopped her. "Wait, if you fight them all, you'll burn out." He scanned the chamber, searching desperately. Then he saw it, a chain winch on the wall controlling the portcullis of the lower gate. He dashed to it, ignoring the guards who moved to stop him. He grabbed the chain and pulled with all his strength. The gears screeched, sparks flying. The portcullis groaned and lifted just enough to leave a gap. "Through!" he shouted. The princess dove under, her silver glow lighting the gap. He followed, rolling across the stone as the portcullis slammed shut behind them. The guards cursed, trapped on the other side. They found themselves in a narrow tunnel that led outside the palace. The air was cooler here, carrying the distant hum of the city. They ran until the tunnel opened onto a high balcony overlooking the sprawling metropolis. Lights glimmered in the distance, streets weaving like veins of fire. The human leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. His body ached, his lungs burned, but he was alive. She stood beside him, her face pale but steady. "They will not stop," she said softly. "The nobles will hunt us. My father will be forced to choose between me and his council, and the city will soon divide." He looked at her, trying to catch his breath. "Then what do we do?" Her eyes met his, and for a moment the fire in them softened. "We survive. Together." The word hung between them like a promise. Together. The distant shouts of soldiers echoed from the tunnel. They had only moments before the hunt resumed. She reached for his hand again, her grip strong. "Come," she said. "The city will hide us if we move quickly, and when the time is right we will return, not as fugitives but as something greater." He nodded, his fear tempered by the weight of her trust. They leapt from the balcony onto a lower terrace, vanishing into the maze of the city below. Above them, the palace gleamed with cold light, no longer a sanctuary but a nest of knives. And in the shadows of the city a new bond was being forged, one not of law or blood, but of choice. For the first time, the human felt the meaning of the word he had whispered. Not just a vow, not just destiny, but survival, trust in something deeper that bound him to the alien princess beside him. And though the stars above were silent, he knew they were watching. The city swallowed them whole. Tall towers shimmered with soft lights, Bridges arched over glowing rivers, and thousands of alien voices filled the night. Cloaked and hidden, the human and the princess moved through the narrow streets, blending with merchants and wanderers. Yet even in the chaos of the city, they knew they were hunted. Soldiers in crimson cloaks searched the avenues, their glowing weapons cutting through the crowd like beacons. They found shelter in a forgotten shrine on the city's edge. Its walls were cracked, its altar covered in dust. But inside, silence wrapped around them like a shield. The princess lowered her hood, silver eyes faintly glowing in the dim light. "We cannot run forever," she said quietly. The human leaned against the wall, still catching his breath. "Then what choice do we have? The council wants me dead. Your father is under their control. They'll never let us back inside the palace." Her gaze sharpened. "That is why we cannot wait for permission. We must take back what is ours. You do not yet understand, human. The word you spoke, it was not only a vow. It was a bond of rule. In the days of unity, when humans and my kind ruled together, that word bound leaders to their people. It was the word of coronation, spoken to seal trust between two worlds." His eyes widened. Then when I whispered it, her lips curved slightly, though her voice trembled with weight. "You invoked it, and before the court no less. By law older than memory, you are no trespasser. You are bound to me, not as prisoner, not as guest, as equal." The air in the shrine grew heavy. He tried to speak, but the words caught. Equal to a princess? Bound by a word he hadn't even understood? Before he could answer, the shrine doors burst open. The crimson-cloaked noble strode in, flanked by soldiers. His sneer was sharp as a blade. "So this is where you hide. How fitting. Two traitors cowering in ruins." The princess stepped in front of the human, her silver glow rising like fire. "You dare call me traitor in the city of my ancestors?" The noble's laugh echoed coldly. "You have lost the court. Your father bends to the council. The people whisper in fear. Your word means nothing now." The human felt heat rise in his chest. For days he had been silent, running, surviving. But now something inside him snapped. He stepped forward, standing beside her. "Her word means everything," he said, his voice firm. "Because I spoke it too, and I'll stand with her no matter what you say." The noble's eyes narrowed, but the princess's hand brushed against his, steadying him. She raised her voice so all in the shrine could hear. "You are wrong. My people do not fear the word. They fear the truth it carries. Look around you. The prophecy has come. A human stands again at our side, and together we will not be erased." The noble snarled and drew his blade, its edge glowing with deadly fire. The soldier stepped forward, but before the first strike fell, the human whispered again, the word that had started everything. "Serenia." The shrine seemed to breathe. The cracked altar flared with ancient light, filling the chamber. Symbols long buried carved themselves into the walls, glowing like starlight. The soldiers faltered, their blades trembling in their hands. The noble staggered back, his sneer breaking into fear. The princess's eyes widened, silver fire blazing brighter than ever. She lifted her hand and light surged from her palm, intertwining with the glow from the altar. The human felt it too, the same rhythm of breath he had found in the arena. His chest rose with hers, their breaths syncing like one. The word was no longer just sound, it was alive. The soldiers dropped their blades, retreating in terror. The noble screamed, covering his eyes. "This is blasphemy. You cannot—" But his voice was drowned in the roar of light. When it faded, the shrine stood silent again. The noble and his soldiers had fled. Only the two of them remained, standing in the glow of the altar. The human turned to her, breathless. "What just happened?" She looked at him, her voice soft but steady. "The vow was answered. The word is no longer a whisper. It is alive in us both. The people will know. They cannot deny it now." Silence lingered, heavy with meaning. He searched her eyes and for the first time saw no walls, no masks. Only truth. "So what happens to us now?" he asked. Her lips curved, faint but certain. "Now we build what was broken, together." She reached for his hand, her fingers weaving with his. And this time it will not be forgotten. Above them the stars burned brighter as if listening. The word he had whispered in desperation had become a bond unshakable, a promise sealed not only in history but in hearts. And though war and danger still lay ahead, the human knew this was only the beginning, because the princess no longer looked at him as an intruder or a symbol. She looked at him as something far greater, her equal, her ally, and perhaps the destiny her people had feared and longed for.